So today we will be covering the 25 must-know stats for your interviews, GD or WAT. So let's get started. So first we have the population. So India is home to approximate 1.44 billion people. So in crores it is 145. 145 crore people. Okay, next. So India is the world's most populous country. So let's see the GDP. So in nominal rates, Indian GDP is USD 4.27 trillion and it's fifth in the world. And let's see the GDP per capita. So GDP overall is the combining GDP from of the country and the per capita like per citizen. So it is very less as compared to other countries in the top list. So it is USD 2900 something and it is 141st position in all over the world. So see, there is a huge difference between the India's position in GDP in case of overall GDP and the per capita GDP. So these are some important values. So let's compare it with the other countries. Like we have the China. So India and China have the similar population, but China's GDP is 5x. It is 5 times larger than India's GDP. It is like we have the Indian GDP at 4.27 trillion USD. On the other hand, the Chinese GDP is approximately 20 trillion USD. So we have also the USA in the top list. So USA is the largest economy, but its population is only the 1/3 of the highest population. So the USA has the largest population in the world. Sorry, the USA have the largest economy. However, it have the small population. So third, we have the Germany and Japan. They also have the higher GDPs than India, but their population is very low as compared to Indian population. So here we are comparing the population with the GDP growth. So we can infer from here that the large population doesn't always mean that the GDP of the country will be large. So here are the different sectors contributing to the Indian GDP. So we have the three sectors: service sector, manufacturing, agriculture. So in service sector we have the IT services, or in manufacturing industries, and agriculture we all know these agriculture fields like the horticulture, all these fields. So the major contribution of the to the Indian GDP is the service sector contributes 54% to the Indian GDP. On the other hand, agriculture contributes 70%. Okay, and the manufacturing contributes 29%. But if we see the data, our population which is engaged in agriculture, it is 40%. So approximately 40% of our population is engaged in the agriculture sector. But we can see here the agriculture contribution to the GDP is only 17%. So it is very low as compared to the people engaged in it. On the other hand, if we see the people engaged in our service sector, so they are approximately 32% people who are engaged in service sector. So these 32%, or we can say 1/3 of our population, which are in the service sector, are contributing more than half to our GDP, which is 54%. So this is the important data. So here we have seen that yes, only like the agriculture is employing 40% of our workforce, but contributing only 17.7%. So let's see the share of education in Indian GDP. So India spent 4.1 to 4.6% of its GDP on education. So in education, here we come see like infrastructure development for the schools, providing better opportunities to the school, skill development. See, all these comes under education sector. So we are providing only 4.1% to 4.6%. But on the other hand, if we compare to the other countries at the global level, so the global average of contribution to the GDP is 6%. Overall, the average is 6%. So India is way below than it. It is like the 4.1% or 4.6%. So we are saying that India will grow into a biggest economy or the third largest economy. But India should also spend some of, like India should have to spend large part of GDP on the education, because the basic education is important for the youth of the country. So here, like we are at the stage and we have the advantage of demographic dividend. So average age of Indian population is 28 years. So here we can utilize this advantage. We can educate and skill up our youth, so they can contribute to the growth of the country. So the investment in education is crucial and necessary. Government should focus on that. There are still very schemes, government are launching scheme for the skill development, but there is still a lag. So we can also look into the literacy rate. So despite this, India's literacy rate is rising, and with the new education policy, you all have known about the flexible education system, the new education policy. The focus is shifting to skill development and digital education. And if we talk about the initiatives, so there are many initiatives announced by the government like Ayushman Bharat. And we also have the for the we have the digital healthcare for the in the public healthcare sector. So let's see the contribution, like the part of the GDP to the public health. So it is only 1.9%. So it is very low. Why it is very low? We can see the compared to the other countries like USA, which can give 70% of its GDP to health, and China with 5%. So why this is important? If people are not good, their health is not good, they will go for the medical services. Their potential will decrease, their efficiency will decrease. That will overall affect the country in the long run. So if we start focusing at the health and nutrition needs of the children and the young people at the early age, then they can work efficiently and help in the growth of the economy in a better way. So the investment in health is also very crucial for the India to become a Viksit Bharat by 2047. So these are the important stats. So let's see some economic indicators. Economic indicators like our main export or import partners. So our main export partners from where we export the things like IT services, pharma, jewelry, textile, like we export them these things. So our main export partners are US and UAE. So this is approximately 17%. On the other hand, if we see the main import partner is the China. So China like they takes over the 18% of the Indian import. So the components which includes in the imports are like electronics, chemicals, machinery, or other. We are also planning to like import lithium ion batteries that are necessary for the EVs, that will be useful for the EVs, and other solar cells, photovoltaic cells, which are used in the solar power plants. So we will discuss these in detail in other classes. And let's move on to the next indicator. We have the social indicators. So in social indicators, here we will be discussing that India's population, we already discussed, it is approximately 1.44 or 43 billion people. So we discuss about this, that the young force, India's young workforce, because the median age is 28.2 years. So this is a demographic dividend from which India can take advantage of it. So if we look at the life expectancy of the people of India, it is 70 years. And if we see the gender ratio, it is 1020 females for per 1000 males, so it is good ratio. So let's this we have explained or learned. So let's move on to the poverty. So at this point of time it is 10%. So which we can see that it has improved from the 2011. At that time it was 21% of the population which was living in the poor condition, or are poor or poverty is 21% of Indian population, but now it has decreased to the 10%, which is a positive signal. But there is a high inequality is very high in India. Like the top 10% of Indians on 77% of the country's wealth. So that is there is a large income disparity. So that is also impacting Indian economy, and we have seen that there is a huge gap between the Indian GDP and Indian per capita GDP. That's only because of this, because Indian GDP is only because of the 10% Indians who own the 77% of the country's wealth, the top richest people. So that's the reason behind it. Okay, so let's look at the unemployment. So at this point of time, the unemployment rate is 7.5%. So if we see unemployment, the people actually, those who are looking for the job, we count them in the unemployment. Those we don't include that who are voluntarily not working. So here if we look at the proportion of Indian women who are in the workforce, so there are only 25% of Indian women who are the part of workforce. So it is very low in among the other countries globally. So if we compare it with the USA, so the women participation in workforce, there it is 56%, and if we see for the China, it is 61%. So let's look at the different sectors in which women are working. Like we can see the maximum proportion of our women are in the service sector, 61%, then industries, then agriculture, 25%. So only the top, like the top 4% women are the CEOs and others, and there was we have seen that there is a reservation for the women in the parliament as well to increase the women participation in the parliament, or they increase their representation in the government. So let's see the factors which are affecting that women participation in the global workforce. So what can be the factors for that? I think one of the factor can be the low female workforce participation. It can be the like there will be workplace bias and challenges. So we will see at the next page. So these are the some important reason behind it. So we can see that the low representation in STEM. So only 28% of India's STEM workforce is female. We all know that the people prefers the parents prefer to have uh, to to their daughters to have in the field of teaching, or they are mostly the nurse. So they don't they don't feel that their daughters will be safe in the companies, because there is not flexible timings. So government have to work on that, like they providing the proper maternal leaves and flexible timings and infrastructure for the women specific needs. That is important, and this can be only done by the government or the private companies if they want to increase the women participation. So we have seen that there is a stereotypes, women face stereotypes, unequal pay is also the reason, maternity wise, like this they saying that if women have children they will be less committed to their work. So they don't prefer women as well to work in their company. So we have discussed about it. So funding gap for women entrepreneurs. So recently in Lok Sabha in our Indian budget 2025, you have would have seen that the Indian government have announced the budget for the loan for the 5 lakh women. So I think this will also help in the increase in the women workforce, the point here that is given here. So this is all for the today's class. Thank you. Keep watching Cat 2 IIM and 77. If you want to discuss some other topics, then please comment below. Thank you.